Live on HQ, Andrew Luck announcing his retirement from the NFL.
Talk with parents and children, reading to kids at schools, hanging out, Children's Museum, the wonderful things they do there. So a big thank you to the city. It's always will hold a special place in my heart. And I guess I'll transition to this current team and why it makes it so difficult, I guess, for me to stand up here and say I'm retired. It's a great group of men. It's a great group of guys. A group that makes coming to work every day feel very, very special. And I feel incredibly lucky for that. And fans and people need to know about the men in that locker room. They're great. They're honest. They're real. There's no bigger fan of them than me. Chris Ballard, thank you. You know I have so much respect and admiration for you. I've had a lot of tough conversations. I've learned so much from him. The honesty. It's incredible. Frank, you're so thoughtful, driven, kind. Again, I've learned so much. So, you know, there are times last year I'd have to pinch myself and say, is this for real? I mean, am I allowed to have this much fun on a football field? And it started with you. Nick Sirianni and Marcus Brady, it's the same. Gonna miss being with them every day. They're good people. All the rest of the staff, they made coming into work a joy and something that I certainly will miss. And I don't, you know, coming back last year and playing, a lot of people had a lot of helped me in a lot of ways, and they'll never know how important that was to me. And I'm, again, so appreciative. And my teammates, I feel so conflicted because of my love for these men, but it is clear to me that's what's best for this team is me. It does not involve me. And I'd like to say a quick note about a few of them as we get towards the end here. But when I was a 7-year-old, my father drove me up to Amsterdam, and I watched Adam Vinatieri kick for the Amsterdam Admirals in NFL Europe. Then when I was in 7th grade, my father took me to the Super Bowl in Houston, and I watched Adam Vinatieri kick a game winner against the Carolina Panthers. And then, of course, my first win as a Colt involves Adam Vinatieri kicking a game winner against the Minnesota Vikings. And I told him all this earlier today. I stand in awe of Adam Vinatieri. He's a great man, a great teammate, and again, he's one of those guys. I'll tell my grandkids I got to play with him. The guys on the O-line: Braden, Glow, Ryan, Q, Hagrid, LaRaven, Bamer, Josh, and of course Anthony. They've been a pleasure to play around, and there's so many more that I've played with in the past, but they were a big part of last year being very special for me, obviously the success of the team, and I'm so grateful and appreciative to have had a guy like Anthony Costanzo be in the building from the day I walked in. Jacoby Brissett is an awesome dude. He's got a bright future. He's diligent, sharp, loves football. I hope I can continue to support him in different ways. I am so grateful for our friendship. On a personal, well, getting a little more personal, but coming back into the building early last year, I was very jealous and resentful of this fun, happy dude that was in my spot as a quarterback on this team. I obviously didn't have a lot of confidence in myself at that time either, but I could not have been more wrong, and he helped me grow in so many ways. He's a lifelong friend. He means so much to me. He's a big part of, you know, me having one of the more rewarding years of my football life last year. I cannot wait to support him and see him lead this team. I am excited for the future of the Colts, in large part because of Jacoby and also all the other men in that locker room. There's so many guys on offense and defense that I've had a pleasure to play with. Clayton Gathers I love watching Clayton Gathers run around and play football. All the running backs and Rathi, the tight ends. Eric Ebron was fun to play with. I'm so excited for his future. He's a great friend. Mo, Jack Doyle, Jackie Jack and I have been through a lot together. I'm going to miss him a lot on the football field, but we're friends forever. and the rest of the guys, I have so much respect and love, and it runs so deep in me for them, and I hope they feel that, because I know so many guys in that locker room have had such a significant impact on my life in so many ways. And lastly, in terms of guys on this team, T.Y. Hilton. I had more fun throwing the football to T.Y. than should be allowed, probably. When I was away in 2017 for the latter half of the season, I had to figure out why I wanted to come back and play football. And I boiled it simply down to the fact that I like throwing the ball to my friends, and I love throwing the ball to T.Y. Hilton. He's the best football player I've ever played with. He's a better teammate than he is a football player. In conclusion, my folks who aren't here tonight, but Mom, Dad, Mayor, Emily, Ad, Uncle Will, all my friends, thank you. And my wife, Nicole, thank you. I love you. And I guess in a philosophical sense, I want to thank football for so many wonderful moments in my life, and the pressure, circumstances, environment that pushed me to grow, learn, change in so many meaningful ways. It's the greatest team sport in the world. And please, if you have questions, I'd like to ask them.
Was this planned today to mention retirement?
No, I'll be honest, I was going to tell my teammates after the game, and 3 p.m. tomorrow was the time I was going to talk to you guys.
So this is obviously a major. It's difficult. How long has this been building? You didn't wake up this morning and say,
No, I didn't wake up this morning. A week and a half, 2 weeks. It's been a little bit fast and furious, and the lack of progress on my ankle, and I'm in pain. I'm still in pain. I've been in this cycle, which feels like, it's been 4 years of this injury pain rehab cycle, and for me to move forward in my life the way I want to, it doesn't involve football.
This was the tipping point. If not for this, you might be having a different conversation.
Yeah, I don't. I guess that's the reality. Is I have this, and I've had this, and so I don't know if tipping point, but it's shoulder and then the ankle and this and this, and it's I've not been. I don't feel like I've lived the life. I can't live the life that I want to live moving forward with this. Yeah.
Is that first time retirement entered your mind in a serious way?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago.
Not even last year.
No.
How much of an emotional toll has all of this taken on you?
Yeah, I feel quite exhausted and quite tired. I do know once I hit the sort of point where I felt like I knew what I needed to do for myself, and talked to Nicole and some, my folks and some close friends and family, and then had some very difficult conversations with Mr. Irsay, Frank, and Chris, but it did feel like, in a sense, a weight was lifted then, but it's it's been tiring. I feel tired, and not just in the physical sense.
What was the final straw, Andrew? Was it after a workout? What was it you said, you know what, I'm going to go home, sleep on this?
I don't know if there was a final straw, per se. The lack of progress, I think, just built up, and run into one, okay, turn the corner, okay, well, let's, run into another stumble block, turn the corner, and, I can't remember if there was one thing that tipping point or final straw, but, again, I feel so much clarity, and again, so grateful for the experiences and the positive times that I have had here.
How do you know, say a year from now when the ankle's finally healed, you won't want to come back?
Yeah, I can't see the future, Zach. I'm not going to sit here and say it, but I very clearly in my mind see that I won't. It's not. Yeah.
You say, do you know what's going on with the ankle yet?
It's a myriad of issues, and I calf strain, posterior impingement, high ankle sprain. It's part of my journey going forward. We'll be getting out of pain and figuring out what's going on and how to feel better. Obviously, so I don't have any definitiveness in my mind on it, and we'll continue working on that.
It's going to be quite a timeline to deal with that if you will continue playing.
Yeah, I'm not, so it's.
Like the ribs, the kidney, the shoulder, the ankle, the calf, all that over the years is what led us here today. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I'd like to say too, this has been my personal journey in football, obviously, and everybody's journey is different. And I over the past week, I'd sit and think, am I going to have a bunch of resentment towards this game or spite towards, coming to this building, and I don't. All I feel is love for this game and love for my teammates and walking in. And I know my journey has had some ups and downs, and physically it has taken its toll over the last 4 years. And that is why I'm here. And the mental and emotional toll that takes as well. Yeah.
But you never could have imagined walking away from football at the age of 29.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't imagine retiring I didn't imagine retiring until 2 weeks ago. So, but no, I didn't think of it in that way. No.
Last Saturday on the field, what were your emotions coming off? Because you said you've been thinking about it for 2 weeks. Did you think then you still were going to play this year?
I had a good idea that I had thought that this might be my last time throwing on Lucas Oil. As a current member of a Colts team, and it was told myself I made sure to go out and enjoy it.
You've always been one of those people who took the blame on anything, whether it was an interception or whatnot and stuff. Did you ever try to say, all right, maybe I should try to play through this because I don't want to let those guys in the locker room down?
That's a good question. And in 2016, after that season, in which I played through some stuff, I made a vow to myself that I would never do that again. I got in not a good place, and I felt that the past week and a half, 2 weeks, and that's also a big part of why I'm here right now talking about this.
You said that quite a few times, just in different references, and I mean, this game does require you to put yourself second, and oftentimes, right? And I mean, just talking with team first and that sort of thing, which is what you have to do. I mean, just how when you've done all that you've done, and how were you able to reconcile all that? I mean, that's a tough calculation, I guess, to make sometimes. Did you ever
reconcile that right now or
over
in the past?
Years. I mean, over the years,
Yeah, no,
It's about the team. I got to put myself second, or just
No, I wouldn't say. I never felt like. I guess in my mind, I never looked at it as me or the team. Part of the team, and do my best for the team, and also do my best for myself in a sense. But it's the greatest team game in the world. I've loved being in that locker room. It's truly been the honor of a lifetime to suit up next to many of those guys, and it's part of what makes this very, very, very difficult.
A couple more, not on a negative, but all that you've meant to the team and the city, and the stunningness of the decision. Any reaction to the fans? Did you hear the reaction walk off the field?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say I heard the reaction. Yeah, it hurt. I'll be honest, Chap. It hurt.
Saw with the fact that you didn't get your fair chance necessarily in this
you know what? I don't look. I certainly feel like I got my fair chance, and I'm very grateful for every snap that I got to take, and the lows and learn from them, and the highs, and all the positive things that happened in this building that I got to be a part of. So I don't hold any resentment, I guess, in that way. I do feel like I got a fair chance, and I tried to make the most of my chance. And right now, my journey just doesn't include football going forward. And I'm again so grateful to have. I'll feel like a Colt forever. I know I will. I'm so grateful again for the Irsay family, for Frank, Chris, everybody in that locker room that I've got a chance to take the field with. It's truly been the honor of a lifetime, and I understand the suddenness and maybe the surprise behind it. I really do, but I also know I have so much clarity about my next steps moving forward, and I'm so excited for this team. It's a great team.
Andrew, steps going forward is being a father. How much is that factored into this decision?
Yeah, not really.
This is a bit of an unusual situation, but how much do you anticipate? You mentioned how much you love this franchise, how much they mean to you. Being around still, the season's about to start. What are your plans? Take a full back seat, or do you plan on being around?
I know. I'm friends with so many guys in this locker room, and I mean, we live here. This is our home. So support the guys the way I can, and I certainly need to rehab and get feeling good. And I got some folks that I need to call and thank them. And it might be a late night on the phone and with some friends and some crying and laughing and some teammates. And I guess before I get off, I should also thank those of you who have covered me for most of my career, all of my career. I appreciate getting to come to work and talk to you guys, gals, every now and then. And I guess a small part of me will miss you as well. But thank you. I very much appreciate it, Mr. Irsay, Chris, Frank, Irsay family. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good night.
There you have it. Andrew Luck calling it a career, announcing his retirement at a press conference there at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. And you heard his decision has taken him over the last 2 weeks to make this decision. From what it sounds like, he's at peace with the decision. Just a couple things that he said during the press conference there. Not an easy decision for him, of course. Honestly, the hardest decision of my life, but it's the right decision for me, is what he said. And he said the big reason why he's walking away is he said he felt stuck in this cycle of rehab. And you consider all the injuries: torn cartilage in his ribs, partially torn abdomen, lacerated kidney, concussion, the shoulder injury, now the high ankle injury. He just said that the latest injury, this high ankle injury, has taken his joy away from playing football. So Andrew Luck has called it a career. He turned 30 in September. He's going to walk away. He talked about how this is his journey and that it no longer includes the game of football. And when the season started, when we were talking about the preseason and everything like that in terms of the Colts, they were the favorites to win the AFC South. Those numbers are going to adjust. In fact, the AFC South odds have been taken off the board. And here's a look at the latest odds to win the Super Bowl, and you can see there Indianapolis drops from plus 1,200 to plus 3,000 following Andrew Luck's retirement. Is Jacoby Brissett now the starter? He went 4-12 in 2017 when he filled in for Andrew Luck while he was out recovering from shoulder surgery. All right, let's welcome in Vegas insider Todd Furman. And Todd, we heard from Andrew Luck. He said that he felt stuck in a cycle of rehab. He's calling it a career. Before we jump into the numbers and the Vegas outlook here, this is a guy that you and I watched every Sunday. Of course, he didn't play at all in 2017. He comes back, becomes the comeback player of the year, had a great year last year, put up monster numbers, and now he's walking away. So just as a sports fan, when you look at this, your reaction, I'm sure you're as stunned as I am.
You know, it's one of those things, Hakeem, when you look at it and it's a player who, I guess for a lack of a better term, we'll say unrealized potential because of the injuries that slowed him down. I mean, maybe you point the finger at Ryan Grigson, who never went out there and drafted offensive linemen to build the fortress around Luck, that if he had Chris Ballard as his general manager, we might be talking about Luck at this age capable of greater heights that he could potentially achieve. But the reality of it is his career cut short because of all those injuries. And you have to tip your hat to a guy who goes out on his terms to a certain extent, so many external interests outside the game of football. And we joke all the time about Andrew Luck's book club. He's a Renaissance man from Stanford, but he seems at peace with his decision. And ultimately, all of us in our career, whether it's in broadcasting, whether it's in analyzing gambling markets, or whether it's as a professional athlete, want to feel at peace with being able to make that decision ourselves. Luck feels like a guy who's thought about all those contingencies. I just want to know, Hakeem, is his dad get on the phone and go, hey, Andrew, you've been sitting out for a year and a half. Why don't you come in and you can be the face of the XFL going forward?
Yeah, you know, when we were listening to the press conference and he got emotional when he mentioned his father, and you do bring up a great point in terms of the XFL, the injuries are not going to get him to the XFL, considering what you heard from him. That would be absolutely wild if that were to happen. Now, I wouldn't be shocked to sit here and say, oh, hey, Todd, let's bring you back in because Andrew Luck is coming out of retirement. He's going to the XFL. It feels better. Like, nothing shocks me at this point. The only thing that was really shocking was the fact that we had to make sure that we really vetted this, because we thought when we first heard the news that we were all getting punked. Andrew Luck retiring, we were just talking about him missing week 1, and here he's going to miss all 16 weeks of the season. When you look at this from a Vegas perspective, how is Vegas handling this? How are they going to adjust now with the numbers?
Well, it's pretty wild, Hakeem, when you see odds makers scramble, because there is no blueprint or a black and white valuation of any player in the league, especially some of the higher profile quarterbacks that are out there. So you saw one book in Circus Sports had the game sitting with the Indianapolis Colts, a 4-point underdog for week 1 against the Chargers. Luck announces this retirement. They reopen the game at Chargers -6, game immediately bet to -7. You look at CG Technology. They pull the game off the board. They go from -3, -1.20, and they reopen the game with the Chargers at 9.5-point favorite for week 1. Do I think 9.5 is the right number? No. I actually think it's a little bit of a steep adjustment through a variety of key numbers. Did I think 6 was the right number? No, I don't think that was aggressive enough. For me personally, I make a 4 to 4.5-point change for the Colts power rating going forward. When we look at Jacoby Brissett, and you mentioned it in 2017, yes, the Colts went 4-12, but they had a halftime lead in 9 of those games. So some of that blame has to fall on former head coach Chuck Pagano, who just didn't make adjustments going into the second half. I think this is where we're going to see Frank Reich's brilliance. We remember what he did in Philadelphia. You lose Carson Wentz. It was a seamless transition to Nick Foles. Now, Andrew Luck and Jacoby Brissett don't have similar skill sets. The Colts have built a very good offensive line. They've made improvements from an athletic standpoint on the defensive side, and they do have some weapons here. So when I see PointsBet go from 9.5 on the over-under for the Colts win total down to 6, I think that's a bit of an overreaction. I wouldn't bet him over 9.5 with Brissett, but I would make a case to bet him over 6. And we look at the division, well, that's an even bigger muddled mess right now as well.
So who becomes the favorite now to win the AFC South? Because we just found out big news with the Texans. Lamar Miller torn ACL. He's done for the season. And then you got the Titans, who we don't really know what they're going to be. They missed out on a playoff spot last season. And then you've got the Jaguars, who were 5-11 dumpster fire last season.
Well, I think the Texans by default become the favorite here. This was still a team that made the playoffs last year, hosted a home playoff game, and they have an elite quarterback in Deshaun Watson. You mentioned Lamar Miller. It's unfortunate for Miller, but it doesn't really change the season outlook or the way you should view the Texans going forward. Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars go from about 4.5 or 5 to 1. That number will get shrunk down as well. And the Tennessee Titans will slot 3, with the Colts checking in at 4. But it really becomes take your pick with those top 3 teams. Those margins are going to be separated by a very slim amount to win the division. And when you look at the impact it'll have on the landscape as a whole, the Colts go from 12-1, as you mentioned, to as low as 30-1 to win the Super Bowl, upwards of 50-1 depending on where you shop. And their 3 division rivals all become the beneficiary as you see those numbers truncated in relation to what it means to the 2 games they'll play against the Colts.
All right, so according to FanDuel, the Texans are the favorites now at +150 to win the AFC South. Of course, they won it last year. So do you like those odds? Because now they'll just fill in that running back job with Duke Johnson.
For me now, I start to look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think this is a team you mentioned being a dumpster fire last year. They go out there and they get Nick Foles. They have a healthy Leonard Fournette, at least for now. They had 4 out of their 5 starting offensive linemen finish the season on IR. So if they can get that rectified, the defense still has electric athletes. And as long as Foles can protect the football, I think Jacksonville is going to be right back in the division race. And from a price standpoint, I'm not buying the Texans. I had some major reservations about them coming into the season. Plus 150, not nearly enough to get me to the window. I think Jacksonville is the team that can now see their stock rise. I'd look at the Jaguars to potentially emerge from the AFC South atop the division.
Yeah, I might jump on that right now. Plus 220 for the Jaguars to go from worst to first. Todd Furman joining us here on CBS Sports HQ as we break down this breaking news. Andrew Luck retiring from the NFL, calling it a career on this Saturday night. Some wild things happening on this Saturday. And here's a look at the projections, the impact of Andrew Luck's retirement. With Luck, 9 wins. Without Luck, goes down to 7 wins. And take a look at the percentage in terms of making the playoffs. It drops from 59% all the way down to 25%. So not a lot of hope in Jacoby Brissett from a projections standpoint. All right, that'll do it for this hour here at CBS Sports HQ, but we continue at the top of the hour. We'll continue to discuss this breaking news. Andrew Luck calling it a career. He said he was mentally worn out. He's checking out. He is done playing football. His journey no longer includes playing the game of football. Said he made this decision over the course of the last 2 weeks. It wasn't something he woke up this morning and said, I'm retiring. So he certainly thought about it over the last couple weeks, and he's at peace with his decision. How that impacts the rest of the NFL, how that impacts your fantasy team, how that impacts the Vegas outlook. That's what we're here for. We're going to break it all down, continue throughout the night here on CBS Sports HQ. Keep it locked.